the zone, they're going to get out of the zone. But
well, yeah, I mean, and listen,
we're a good shooting team.
yeah,
But
and
just
I watched the
sometimes you
game.
just don't make shots.
Right,
That's the bottom line.
I watched what you just said is exactly what happened in a game I watched yesterday between Birmingham and Memphis State.
Oh my gosh. Did you see that game?
I watched that. A tale of two halves. Birmingham, UAB.
They scored 60 something points in the first half. They were up by like 18 and they lose by 20 something.
Memphis State went on a 20-point or 25-point run yesterday. And I do call them Memphis State because that's what their uniform said yesterday. But I noticed Javon Quinterly plays for them, and he was a player for Alabama last year. It's like, my God, these kids really do move around. And Memphis,
figured that out.
Man, I just figured that out. Memphis State, absolutely, it was such a difference in the way the game was between the first and second half. Andy Kennedy gets thrown out of the game. Backyard, my God. So I'm going to go watch that. But yes, no, you're right. I mean, you get hot and cold in these games, and it's just it's a real momentum thing, and it's amazing what Memphis did and what UAB did yesterday. It was hard to watch, actually, if you were a Birmingham fan. But I think both those teams are going to somehow make it into the tournament. I like Penny Hardaway's
I don't
team.
think UAB will make it.
You don't think so?
Mm-mm.
Well, they're
unless they win their tournament.
Okay, maybe you're right. That's the one. That's the league with FAU and heck, I'm forgetting the other team, but that's probably
South Florida. FAU's going to have to play their tails off to get into the dance.
FAU and South Florida are in that. So you're saying only the league champion will make a tournament from that?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying FAU is like an 11 seed right now, and that's not a guarantee of getting in.
Right. Well, okay. Well, I guess it's going to come down to their conference tournament. Yeah. And
okay,
and I think
Tony, yeah, go ahead, Tony, real quick, because Facebook Live moves now. You can't scroll back and forth. So if I don't see it right now, folks, Facebook does not allow you to go up and down for whatever freaking reason. Tony says it has been harder for anyone in college basketball to hold a lead. The shot clock isn't 45 or 35 like the old days and doesn't reset all the way after an offensive rebound. So true. Many more possessions, I would imagine. Yeah, the whole deal about blowing leads and all that. The Gators ain't the only people doing that, people. Right. It happens to the top teams in America. There's a bunch of texts here on the Titan MR text line. Let me get to it here as they come up. I'll pick a few here and there. This is from Paul in Pensacola. He said, ETN said over the last couple of days that he left because he wanted to play for a winning team.
Yeah.
What he failed to man up is that he was a contributor to the losing. If he wanted to stay on the field, he should learn to block. Great point. When he ran out of bounds at the end of it wasn't the Florida State game, that was the Missouri game. When we're trying to kill the clock instead of taking a hit or even attempting to get the first down, I knew something was wrong. I guess now we know where his heart was. Thanks for the text, Paul. We got another text from Roger. Go ahead. You want to comment on that?
No, I hate that these guys who leave here have to still talk about, what they didn't like about here instead of talking about where they are now. I don't know. I guess that's just part of answering questions that podcasters ask. But I'm sorry. Finish your thought, QB.
Well, Greg says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, QB's analysis of Florida's entire basketball season is you either make shots or you miss shots. That's some deep research. Well, Greg, like I said, you ain't got to listen. But I can tell you right now, Mark Wise knows a lot more than I do. He coached at Kentucky and multiple other places. He says you have to make shots to win basketball games. That's simple. That's simple.
That was kind of funny, though, the way Greg described it.
Well, it is kind of funny, but it's the facts. It's just like in football. You better score more than the other damn team. Now, in football, you got to score. You got to stop them. Basketball, you can go without stopping people. Alabama is a prime example of that. They outscore people. They don't play defense either.
No.
So, look, the basketball team is damn good. If you don't see that, you don't know sports. This basketball team will be just fine. Trust me.
You're very, very adamant about your Gator basketball team. I mean, it's just a loss against a tournament team on the road.
A top-ranked team who's like number 12 in America.
Yeah, I mean, they're not one of those teams that you just roll in, take care of business and walk on out the door. They're very good. South Carolina.
I saw where Marquette went on the road and they lost this weekend, and they're like number 5 in America. It baffles me how people get so upset over a loss.
Well, I mean, I thought, I mean, it's tough
because in basketball, college basketball, I understand about your seedings, but Florida is going to be anywhere between a 6 and a 10, regardless of what they do the rest of the year. I don't care if they go win the SEC tournament. I don't think they get up to the 5 line. Okay, so all it matters is when you get to the NCAA tournament, you got to see who you're matched up with, and then go play. Everything that you did in those 30-something games does not matter then. Doesn't matter if we couldn't shoot against the zone. It doesn't matter that we turned it over against Virginia because we didn't have Pullen at the time. None of that crap matters. All right. We got a text here on the Titan of our text line from Will. He says, would love y'all's thoughts on the hiring of the other offensive line coach, Jonathan DeCoster. So, JC, over the weekend, the Gators got another assistant coach.
I have to admit, I thought about that the whole weekend when I was playing golf, what we were going to do with that assistant coaching hire. It's good that he's filling out his staff. It feels like he must have thought after the year that there were a lot of holes to fill and that he had to just bring more people on board. I mean, I don't know.
Well, no, this is an actual coach because we lost this coach to the Redskins.
Yeah.
This is the number 2 O-line coach. Right, I know nothing about him.
I don't know anything about it.
I'm not going to lose any sleep over it.
What does it matter? You're not going to remember. Who cares? This is his staff. I've never talked more about a coach's staff than I think the one staff we talked a lot about was when Steve Spurrier got hired and the coaches he brought on board. Carl Franks, Tim Markham.
Nobody knew who the hell any of those people were.
James Bates. We talked a lot about the staff back then, QB. I don't know. Lives did not change because we all know who was calling the plays and we all know who was going to take where the buck stopped. It stopped with Stephen Orr. So,
JC, what's funny is somebody sent me I guess Florida Victorious is doing some kind of poll. We're going to have the folks from Florida Victorious actually on the program on Friday. Good. But they sent some kind of like poll. Somebody sent it to me. I just looked at it. I looked at the comments on it. And there was like 200 and something comments referring to this poll.
Wow.
I didn't look at all of them, but I would say 90% of the comments, what do you think they said? And I don't know what the survey was about, but what do you think these comments of the people, what do you think they said?
I would say the tone of the comments surrounded the offense and what Billy's going to do to make the offense better.
That's all. It was all about we need a play call. I'm like, these damn people do not understand football. So anyway, Rodney says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melvin Law.
It really pisses
Shane and
you
JC,
off,
any thoughts on Spurrier's comments of Napier's of the Gator football program? What did Coach Spurrier say? Do you know?
Well, I mean, I watched your interview with him from the restaurant last week, and I didn't know he was being interviewed by others. So no, I'm sorry.
I missed that too. I don't know what you're referring to.
I'll mention it, but I will say I did not need to hear Trevor Etienne say that he didn't want to play for a losing program anymore. I didn't need to hear Emmitt Smith say the things he said. You want to go into that, QB, at all?
Well, we have a text here on the Titan MR text line from Roger in New Orleans. In NOLA. He says, what do y'all think about Emmitt's comments about UF firing the DEI employees?
Well, I mean, listen, this school is being led by different people now, okay? Kent Fuchs is gone. There is a new president, and I think, Ron DeSantis is the governor here, and that's the way it is. Emmitt doesn't have to like it. Emmitt can do whatever Emmitt wants to do, but and say whatever he wants. It's a free country. Of course it is. He can say, well, most people believe it's a free country, and he can say whatever he wants. As far as DEI goes, I'm always a guy that believes in merit-based promotion. I'm not a guy that believes on incendiary promotions led by other issues. I promote based off merit. And that's the biggest thing. And I don't really care what they do up here because I don't work for the University of Florida. They can do what they want. Any school can do what they want. What Emmitt thinks is what Emmitt thinks.
But that's not happening just at UF. That's happening at all the schools in the state of Florida, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Well, that's the state of Florida for you. So, hey, listen, I mean, you don't have to like it. You don't have to go to school here either. You don't have to work here. You don't have to live here. You can go wherever you want. Okay. It's pretty, I mean, go live in New York.
Alan says he didn't fire the people. He closed the department and relocated the employees.
Well, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
but
I could care less.
What does that have to do with anything? With anything that we're talking about today? What Florida does with their administration and their decisions? I mean, we're sports. This is a sports show. So
yeah, for sure. All right. So basically, a lot of people are here saying about Spurs' comments on the football program was about all the hirings, all the analysts. Do you really need all those?
Well,
He
we've
says
asked
he's
that question
basically says the
rhetorically.
staff's ridiculous. We got way too many people. Look, I've said that multiple times on this program. Again, the reason it's like that is because, well, first of all, coach back in his day, you had your 10 coaches or however many it was. That was it. Football's changed. Everybody has an analyst. The Gators ain't the only people. We have a ton. I agree. I think we have way too many. I don't know what they do. If I was coaching, I would go coach Spurs the way he did it because that's how I learned. I would probably have 5 to 10 analysts to take some responsibility off my assistant coaches in different parts of the scouting department and breaking down team and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, how you structure your staff is up to you, but the results are going to determine whether or not you're criticized. And right now, that's all we're hearing. So,
yeah. So you got to go win games. Simple as that.
Really
also, shout out to gymnastics. They won the SEC regular season championship this weekend with a win over Kentucky.
Yeah.
To take that.
I mean, well, it's a
JC, everybody wants to know how Cabot was. So my golf this weekend consisted of Adena and Golden Ocala. Yours was Adena and Cabot.
Yeah, and it just seems like once you go south 15 minutes out of Gainesville or even out of Alachua County, all of a sudden the world opens up for you in golf. Now, I know we've got some viewers who are about as interested in golf as I am in washing a car. I just don't, but we talk about golf here. That's just the way it is because the QB and I like golf. So we got the chance to play courses in Marion County, and I went a little further south to Brooksville, and it's a priority. People come from all over the place, I mean everywhere, to go play these different courses all the time. And Cabot Farms is a place that they basically, once Whirlwinds and Pine Barrens course went bankrupt, essentially, in Homosassa, Florida, or Brooksville, this company called Cabot from Canada bought the property, and they have cleared out all of the trees. It looks like almost a war zone in there, but they've carved out these beautiful green holes with, I guess, waste bunkers everywhere on the course. There's very little tree interference. It's more like somewhat of a links course, and it was really exciting to play, but it's got a long way to go still. They're still in a soft opening stage. They don't have a clubhouse yet, and they don't have a restaurant yet. There's a lot of work that still has to happen, but it was a great experience. And Adena, you know what I think of Adena, QB. Within 30 miles, that is my favorite golf course anywhere near here. I love that place. It fits my eye when I hit the ball there, and the conditions and the people there. Patrick Jenkins, Gary, Mike Timpson, all of the Katie, the beverage and food director. They treat you like kings down there. So certainly give it a shot and give them a call and talk about membership deals at Adena because it's a
Reggie says on Facebook I brought you Meldon Law. The guys that complain about golf, where'd that thing go? The guys that complain about talking golf are the guys that can't hit it past the ladies' tees.
Well, I mean, if you don't like golf, then you might as well shut this thing off right now. I mean,
golf's my favorite sport.
Don't waste your time watching this show. I mean, turn on auto. Go look at cars or something. But
Philip says, Shane, have you or JC ever correctly predicted the winner of a golf tournament? We've done it multiple times.
Many times. This must be a new viewer. It must be a new viewer.
Must be. He must have got our picks this weekend from the Honda Classic or whatever it's called because our golfers stink. I don't even know if they even made the cut.
Well, it's on. Weather interfered with their final round.
Tyson Alexander, by the way, is probably going to be in top 10 finish.
And we're going to see maybe Austin Eckroad or whoever win a tournament. And Billy Horschel, I think, has a few holes to finish. He was, I think, rained out, and he had 2 holes left. It must be really tough for some of these guys to have to stay an extra night, knowing that they've only got 1 or 2 holes left to play to collect that paycheck.
Oh, I think Billy Horschel had 1 hole to play.
One, so he's got to stick around, but that paycheck will be worth it.
Absolutely.
So.
Radware is a family-owned business that prides itself in excellent customer service while providing quality and affordable promotional products and customized apparel. Speaking with JC on the Titan Tomorrow hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements, we'll have Mike Morgan from the SEC Network. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA
Mike.
Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life at Campus USA Credit Union. Now, what in the world just happened? Oh, why did this thing switch? Okay, so I'm pulling it back up. But This Day in Sports in 1970. Man, why did this thing switch? Jacksonville University was the first college basketball team to average over 100 points a game. Think about that. Averaged over 100.
What year was that?
You know who was on that team?
Artis Gilmore.
Yeah.
What year was that?
1970.
Dang. 54 years.
I think that's when they went to the Final Four, right?
Could have been. Yeah, could have been. JU was a cool team. They played in the Jacksonville Memorial Coliseum back in those days.
I thought they played in that little dump on campus.
Toomey Gym or Tui Gym or something. Yeah. Well, it is true that Artis Gilmore did play for the JU Dolphins. But look, tomorrow night, big night. I'm really loving the fact that the Alabama game has been moved to 7 p.m. QB. Is everybody happy about that? I am. And
absolutely.
I think I'm going to try to make my way over that way tomorrow to watch this. I would not have done it if it were at 9 o'clock. I think we're going to see a very exciting game. Lots of up and down kind of thing. Fast breaks. Just 6-second shot clocks for some of these possessions that you'll see tomorrow night. And I think Florida at home is probably, I would be surprised if they weren't favored to win this game.
Yeah. Christopher says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Spurs. No, I'm sorry. This is brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Spurry said that the program is not as tidy as Spurry would like.
As tidy?
Yeah. Coach, I'm going to have to, Coach was not, his program was not very tidy.
Tidy.
His program was so laid back.
Yeah.
I mean, like, even when I walk into the facility, which is very seldom, JC, it's like, how do I need to act? It's like, back in those days, everything was so relaxed and you just kind of did what you wanted to do. These guys are so structured now. It's nuts.
He's imported so many people who had no connections to the school, have no connections to the area.
Everybody does that. Everybody has all these analysts. So we're beating a dead horse here.
We're beating a dead horse. But my God, I do agree with the I don't know if you want to call it a criticism, but I do agree that there's just too many cooks in the kitchen running around.
Well, those people really, when you say there's too many cooks in the kitchen, they really have no effect on what's going on. That's the problem.
Then why are they on the payroll?
Literally, I don't know why you need them all. That's my point. All right, so we got a text here on the Titan MR text line from George. He says, your thoughts on Ricky Pearsall at the Combine? I don't watch the Combine. I saw on Twitter he was outstanding, and I've stated on this program multiple times, he's one of the top 10 or top 15 receivers to ever play at this school.
I think he had the greatest catch I've ever seen at Florida Field, and that's high praise because I saw Wes Chandler play at Florida Field, and he, to me, was one of the 3 greatest Gators wide receivers ever. But
I think he will be. He will play in the National Football League for a long.
I mean, he's got to stay healthy. He's got to stay healthy. But sure, I agree with you. I think so. I think this draft in April is going to be just awesome to watch. It's going to be, if you really follow quarterbacks and you really like the teams that are drafting early, this is for you, man. That draft's going to be great.
Yep, for sure. JC, you got any thoughts on LeBron scoring 40,000 points?
No, because I think the only thing LeBron cares about is whether or not he can win a championship with the Lakers. I will tell you what I did like watching, though, was my Celtics put a 52-point whooping on Golden State, and that coach Steve Kerr, who I'm not a big fan of, and I liked watching that. I did. Golden State had travel issues coming from Toronto, had to sit on the tarmac for 4 hours or something because their plane didn't work. So they played 3 games in 4 nights and then ran into the Celtics, who are, I think, the best team in basketball. Doesn't mean they're going to win. Denver could beat them. I think Denver is right there with them. But I think the Celtics this year could be their year. We'll see. They won by 52 points, QB.
Yeah, I know, but it's NBA. John says on Facebook Live, Ricky is a Welker type. I think I think he can be way better than Wes Welker. He's bigger than Wes Welker. I think he's faster and quicker.
And QB,
I was with Wes Welker in Miami.
Welker's a great player. Great player.
Andy says ESPN is talking about JJ McCarthy going to be an overall top 5 pick. Can you see that? I do not see that.
Wow, JJ McCarthy. Well, I heard his name connected with the Falcons potentially, Atlanta. But QB is, another day goes by, and is there anything more true than Kevin O'Sullivan just owning the Miami Hurricanes?
Very true.
I mean, that is, if you want to say something that is undeniable and something you cannot argue, it is that Kevin O'Sullivan at the University of Florida has taken over the Miami Hurricanes baseball program. He just owns it. And I love seeing the way Florida played that. It almost felt like when you watch them play a team like Miami, they're really dialed in. They got all the radars and all the gadgets pointing the right way. And then they'll go play somebody on a Wednesday night, and it's like, can we just get to the weekend? But that's the team.
Because those games don't matter.
Right. So that's the team that you saw play Miami on Friday night and Saturday and Sunday. That's the team that I think we're going to be watching for the bulk of this season, and somebody you can get behind and bring 7,000 fans to Condron.
Yeah. A text on the Titan MR text line from Josh. He says the writer, this is referring to Coach Spurrier's comments. He said the writer only chose what he wanted to write and get clickbaits. Coach said tons of positive things about Billy Napier too that did not make the article. Makes sense.
That's the edge. I mean, all these guys that call themselves journalists, which is almost a joke. I think it's all about slant. And Mike Morgan, who is a great, who's great in the media, who has met a lot of people, will tell you that if you ask him today, that there is a lot of opinion that is slanted toward a certain narrative. But for guys like he and others who get to call what they see and opine on what actually happens, that's who you need to listen to. Listen to those guys, because blabbermouths like me and you on podcasts, we fit a certain framework, although I try to be as objective as I can. But sometimes it's impossible when you're talking about opinions, right? So, but I like people.
Look, here's the thing
that you respect.
I don't give a damn what's happened in 2 years. If everybody would have a positive attitude, and like I said, I don't want to be critical here, but if you've never been a part of a team, do you think there's people in that locker room over there, the players, JC,
right,
that are saying we're not going to win a game?
No, you can't do that.
But the fans, but that's how the fans react. That's what I'm saying. They have no competitive juice in their body at all. If you think that. So I'm proposing to everybody that listens that bitches about Billy Napier or this, that, and the other, as the head ball coach would say, and so forth. Quit your bitching, suck it up, support the team, and see what happens. Because I'll be damned, you may be surprised. Go play the freaking game.
I will tell you that the first 6 games on that schedule, and you don't know about the last 6 because we don't know how injuries and how things will transpire throughout the season for all of these teams, these great teams we're going to play, the Gators that is, going to play at the end of the year. If they can get off to a fast start, win 4 or 5 of those first 6 games, or all 6, who knows? But just think about how different everything can be. If you jump out the gate, you beat Kentucky for the first time in 4 years or 3 years, you can handle – play hard up in Knoxville and handle your business at home with Miami, then everything will change toward the way you look at those last 6 games. I got to believe that. Because I don't think we're going to see a repeat of them winning 5 games, going into the Georgia game, and then getting skunked the rest of the year. I just can't imagine that stuff happen 2 years in a row.
All right, well, we got to get to Mike Moore and talk a little hoops. Right. But, yeah, I've had enough. We need some these damn people that have never freaking bounced a basketball or put a helmet on, laced up a cleat or anything, need to realize that we have competitive dudes in that damn building, regardless of the sport, and they're trying to win games. So either quit your bitching or find another team. That's all I can say. I'm tired of it.
Well, QB, I get it. All right.
Well, it's just like JC. I will play anybody anywhere in golf if they want to play. I ain't scared of anybody.
Ah,
okay. Wow. So I like to compete. And I think we got a lot of competitors, regardless of the sport, over there on campus.
They better.
All right.
Yeah. And I do too. And I'm we've got all summer to discuss.
Yes, we
this,
do. All right. That's
let's
JC.
hear what old Mike's got to say.
JC, join us on the Titan Number Hotline. We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk a little hoops with Mike Morgan from the SEC Network. You're watching and listening to PodUp, Matthews in the Morning. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Silverback Concrete's a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structure with unrivaled quality. Silverback Concrete, you stand on it, we stand by it. We're going to go back to the Titan MR hotline courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. And our guest is Mike Morgan from the SEC Network. He's brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. How you doing, my man?
Shane, I'm doing great. Back home after a lengthy road trip, much of which was in Gainesville for back-to-back Gator games. Good to finally break bread with you, and great to be back on your show.
Real quick, what games you got this week?
I'm heading to Fayetteville tomorrow for the Wednesday night game. They play LSU, who I just had, and LSU is that sleeper team like nobody's paying attention to. They're in the upper half. They're 8-8 in the SEC, and they're in the upper half of the conference standings. Yeah. So they're like that team. That's just if they peak in the SEC tournament, look out because they got a chance to do some stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. Let's go ahead and jump into the Gators. They lose a heartbreaker against Carolina. I mean, I only got to see bits and pieces of the game, and they had a lead, but Carolina's a good team, man. It's on the road. But Paul's question here on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Mike, do you think we will see a lot of zone defense, which seems to give us trouble?
Yeah. So, and I mentioned this on another show about, I thought that South Carolina, who does not play a lot of zone, that's not their thing. They're a man-to-man team. But the game I did do, if you remember the Missouri game, I mean, Florida's clearly a better team than Missouri, and they outplayed them for most of that game. But the one stretch where Missouri made their run, it's when they went to a zone. And all of a sudden, Florida got stagnated a bit. If you know, one of the strengths of Florida is they have guards that can get by you. They're not just good shooters, but like it's really hard to keep Clayton and pull in front of you. They can just blow by you. Well, the zone neutralizes that. The zone takes away guys beating you off the bounce, and it basically dares you to shoot 3-pointers. And it's not like Florida's incapable of shooting the three, but that's not what I would call their strength. And it worked for Missouri, and Carolina then did it, and obviously was the key part of that game. Look, eventually there's other ways to dissect it and defeat it. I'm not saying that all of a sudden Florida is just going to be this inept team that doesn't know how to beat a zone. That's not the case. But I do think, and Mark and I have talked about this a number of times, I can't believe that more teams do not zone. Because there are a lot of teams in college basketball, Shane, that just do not want to see a zone. They don't want to face a zone.
Right. But a lot of coaches that if they play man defense, their teams cannot play zone defense. And it kind of sounds weird to the average fan, but it's no different than in football. Playing man coverage is easy. I got that dude no matter where he goes. If we call whatever zone in defense in the secondary, guys get lost with route combinations.
Right.
And it's really hard to believe because me personally, I've never been a DB in my life. But if I was a DB, I'd much rather play zone.
Heck yeah.
But these dudes nowadays, they have so much trauma. And I'm talking football, but I think it translates the same way to basketball. And in basketball, you know, when you have man, shot goes up, that's your dude you're blocking out.
Right.
If you're in a zone, you're just kind of like watching the ball go and you're not blocking out a certain person. So that's why these coaches don't like zone.
No question. And it does it adds a level of discipline and thinking. Like I'll make another football analogy. Teams, great defenses hate playing that one team a year that plays a friggin' triple option, right?
Right.
Because it's assignment football and they don't see it all year and they don't practice it all year. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh man, I got to change every concept that I've had all year. And sometimes that's what a zone can do. And again, you can mix up zones. Like Missouri was going 1-3-1, and you can go 2-3. You can do matchup zone. So you could really, if you practice it and work on it, you can cause an offense a lot of different issues. The one thing that Florida does so well, and they won the battle of the boards again, right? I mean, they still, if you go back and look at the offense, I think they had 9 offensive rebounds. So when the knock on playing a zone is very often when you play a zone, you get kind of loosey-goosey on your area, and then the shot goes up, and you're not finding a man to put your butt into because you don't have a man. You're a zone. So a lot of times teams that zone don't rebound real well, and that should actually benefit Florida on the offensive glass, and it did. I mean, Florida, again, won the battle of the glass. Look, make no mistake about it. Florida played a good basketball game. This is not about what Florida didn't do well. It's more about a really good South Carolina team that was at home in front of a packed house. And look, if Meechie Johnson, who is a streaky shooter, if he does not hit that three, and I'm not going to tell you that was a great shot because if he misses it, it's like, what are you doing, dude? That's a settle. But he made it, and that's the difference in the ball game.
Yeah, and usually gets zone. I mean, get people out of zone is knock down threes. I mean, when you reverse the basketball against a zone, usually those wing shots are wide open from the
usually they are. But you know what's funny, Shane? It's I think mentally sometimes even guys that are good shooters, the hardest ones to hit are the ones that are wide open. It's like a wide receiver.
Yeah. Right.
If you're wide open, you start thinking, man, I can't drop this. And then you do. So sometimes shooters are actually better with a little more of a contested shot than they are a wide open shot against a zone.
Yeah. Big game over the weekend, I guess, would be Tennessee at Alabama. Alabama had a 6 or 7 point lead there, kind of late in the second half, and Tennessee went on a run. It looks like Tennessee will win. I guess they sit in the position right now to win the regular season title.
Yeah, still got Kentucky in the finale.
Right. So in Kentucky, man, they're just scoring hundreds of points, obviously.
Insane.
They were down to Arkansas and had to make a run.
Yeah.
So I haven't even looked at this week's schedule. We got any good matchups?
Well, I'm kind of I'm kind of looking ahead, I guess. But so Tennessee, as you mentioned, they're kind of in the driver's seat, right? And for my money, they're still the best top to bottom team in this league. That doesn't mean they're going to be in the Final Four. That doesn't mean other teams like a Florida might not have a better tournament. It's so much of it is matchups and a bit of a crapshoot. But that same Tennessee team they lost at home to South Carolina. They play in Columbia. It's either Tuesday or Wednesday night. I can't remember. So that to me is very juicy. If they win that one, it's all but over for the conference race. But if they don't, and remember they still have Kentucky to finish, we could have maybe perhaps even a tie for the conference championship. It's a really good race, and the Tennessee win at Alabama, and I watched that game from my hotel room. That was really impressive. That to me was a statement by Tennessee. Like, look, we might not be the flashiest, and Alabama, they're like the shiny object that everybody loves to watch, and Kentucky's getting all the conversation, and Carolina and Florida have been playing really well, but do not forget about us. We defend as well as anybody. Oh, by the way, we've got Dalton Connect, and then Connect didn't have a great game, and other guys picked up the slack. So I thought that was a statement win.
Yeah, for sure. Somebody had a question here. I don't know if it was on YouTube or Facebook. I can't find it now, but oh, here it is right here. Dan asks, is Florida still up for the double bye in the SEC tournament? How can we be one of the top four teams, Mike?
Well, I have to look at the standings to know that the loss to Carolina is certainly debilitating in that respect. Obviously, you would lose the tiebreaker to Carolina for one of those four spots. Tennessee, as we've talked about, is in the driver's seat. Now you have you split against Kentucky. So I don't know how far that tiebreaker would go. Like if it came down to, say, Florida and Kentucky for the 4th seed, that's a split. So that I don't know what the next divisional tiebreaker is. So I don't think it's over. But obviously the loss hurts. Look, you don't have to have a double bye to win this thing. Even if you play an extra game, I don't think that's a big deal. The teams that play on the first day, with all due respect to the announcers that are going to say anybody can win it, no. If you're the 11, 12, 13, 14 seed and you're playing on day one, you're not winning this thing. It's just too difficult a path. You're playing 2 more games than other teams, and you're 11 through 14 for a reason. But let's say Florida got the 5 seed. Are they still capable of having a great run in Nashville? Absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's probably, I mean, like you said, LSU's hot. They're not a team that comes to mind that could win the tournament, but they could. But I believe between Tennessee, Kentucky, Auburn, Florida, Alabama, any of those teams can win this thing. Ruzover State Farm Office. Ruzover State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. I got Mike Morgan from the SEC Network. He's on the Titan Tomorrow hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements, brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. I don't know if we've spoken. I can't remember when the game was, but it was the Kentucky-Mississippi State game last week. Kentucky blew a lead. They took the lead. Mississippi State was down about 6 with a minute to go. I can't remember the freshman, number 13, Hubbard. Hubbard knocks down a 3, and then Shepard goes down and hits the game winner. You've been covering the SEC a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've ever seen 3 freshmen as talented as Hubbard from Mississippi State, Reed Shepard, and Dillingham.
Yeah.
Those 3, I mean, am I crazy to think that? But I think they're unbelievable.
They are. I mean, Hubbard is this like 5'9" dynamo. He scored over 4,000 points in high school. He's like a Mississippi phenom. And you look at him and you're like, well, he might be too small. But the thing about him is he gets a shot off. Like he's not to me, it's never about height. I'm talking about a shooter, Shane. It's where you release it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So he might be 5'9", but he elevates big time on his shot. So by the time he hits his apex and he follows through, he might be more like 6'3" when that happens. And so he's electric, a lot of fun to watch. I don't know where Mississippi State would be without him, quite frankly, because while they love to D it up, they are limited on offense without him. But you mentioned Reed Sheppard. There is somebody tweeted me this or texted me this. I can't remember. The final minute and a half of that game, it shows you the Reed Sheppard line, and it's Reed Sheppard field goal made, Reed Sheppard steal, Reed Sheppard free throw, Reed Sheppard field goal, Reed Sheppard steal, Reed Sheppard. It was all Reed Sheppard in the final 90 seconds of that game to win it. He does not play like a freshman. He shoots like 50% from three. You even like little things that I pick up on, Shane. Every pass he makes is crisp right and perfect, right in the pocket.
Perfect, yeah, the shooting pocket, right, or what have you.
Well, here, okay, I love making these cross-sport analogies. It's like a quarterback. You might throw the ball and complete it to the receiver, and it goes down as a reception, a completed pass for Shane Matthews, and maybe like it's a 10-yard gain. What we should have metrics, and maybe we do, but it doesn't show up in your average stat line. Did Shane Matthews hit the receiver in stride, where he took a 10-yard gain and he was able to make it? He busted for 50 because Shane got him right in motion, put it right in his hands. And that's the difference sometimes, right? So you watch Reed Sheppard whip a pass, and it's perfect every freaking time, right where the shooter wants it, right where a guy catches it and is able to do something with it. His defense, he's not the best defender, but man, if he doesn't get steals and blocks. And you mentioned Dillingham's the other one. He is just a shooting dynamo. You're talking about those two are lottery picks after 1 year of college ball that are going to be a lot of fun to watch for years to come.
Yeah, there's no question. They are fun to watch. And it's when I talk about accuracy and anticipation are very critical. Zach here on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Back to the Carolina Gator game. The fouls were 11-4 at one point in the second half. They got us with all the free throws. A lot of people complaining about the officiating. You see it. The whole team usually gets a bunch of calls, right, in conference play.
It's not uncommon. Yeah, it's not uncommon for the whistle to be a little friendlier at home. No question about it. I'm watching that game. You'd be proud of me. I'm in the gym, Shane. I'm in the hotel gym in Nashville as I'm watching that game. So I can't say that I could pinpoint every call. I didn't think the officiating controlled it. A lot of times when I hear, well, this team had this many free throws and that team had that many free throws, sometimes the more aggressive team is going to draw more fouls. Also, the more aggressive team is rewarded by picking up more steals and more big plays. Like I said, I thought Florida played a really good. They started off now. It's like they didn't get the wake-up call. I realized it was a noon tip. The first 5 minutes of that game was pretty shoddy. And I was like, oh, man, if Florida doesn't get their caffeine or something in them, this is going to be a rough day at the office. And then to their credit, they bounced back and started playing A-level basketball, hit a huge shot with about 7 minutes left. I think it was Pullen that hit a big three at that point, and they had all the momentum going. And then Carolina punched back, but it comes down to Michi Johnson hitting an NBA three in the final seconds to go up by 3. But I don't know if the officials honestly really dictated who won that game. Carolina just made one more play down the stretch.
We have a text and a Facebook Live kind of about the same thing. Andy asking Johnny in Naperville, Illinois, all about Caitlin Clark. What impact do you think Caitlin Clark will make in the WNBA, and will she regularly pack houses? And Johnny's question was basically your thoughts on Caitlin Clark. Have you ever watched her play live?
I have not seen her in person. I actually have friends that have gone out of their way that don't ever watch a women's basketball game, that have gone out of their way to see her in person and to watch her on TV. Now, I have watched her on TV several times. She's phenomenal. She's one of the few players that I'll go out of my way to watch. So the hype is real. You've never seen somebody play like that in the women's game. You just haven't. So I know for some people, they just like to hate on anything, and I've heard some of the criticism, and it's laughable to me. She's going to be the pick of the Indiana, is it Fever? Now, I might watch 7 minutes of a WNBA season a year. Okay, that's the over-under for me. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm going to get like the WNBA League Pass so I can watch Caitlin Clark every game. But I will tell you that more eyeballs will watch when she's playing than just your average game. There's some players that truly transcend the sport that they're in. Obviously, a Tiger Woods was like that in golf. We have countless examples of that in the men's game. I certainly think she could be that in the women's game.
Yeah, boy, she's fun to watch. There's no question. Text on the Titan Mark text line from Mark. He wants to know, Mike, did you ever have any encounters with Chris Mortenson?
Yes, I was thinking about that today. So I think Chris lived in Arkansas, or maybe that was just where he's from, or he had a place there. I did a football game in Fayetteville, got on the plane on a Sunday morning out of that airport, XNA, which is an interesting airport, and I'm sitting next to Chris Mortenson. And I had just started with ESPN. This is over a decade ago. So he doesn't really know me from Adam. And we're just talking, and he could not have been nicer. We talked about it. I said, I grew up watching NFL Game Day and NFL Primetime on ESPN, and like I just think the world of your work. And we just started talking about it. We were nonstop. I thought I was just going to like put my earbuds in and just ignore the world like I normally do. We sat there and talked for an hour and 45 minutes about the business and about the NFL. Could not have been nicer. Sometimes people just say nice things about somebody when they pass. It's all real. It's all legitimate on Chris Mortenson. The job he did, as in terms of being a credible reporter, which we're getting away from that, unfortunately, in terms of credibility, that speaks for itself. But I can also tell you, in my one encounter, could not have been a nicer human being.
Yeah, it's sad to see. All right, we've run out of time already. Again,
Wow.
What games you got this week?
So I've got LSU. I'm doing the LSU train here. LSU at Arkansas, and then I'll be in Baton Rouge for the finale. Mark and I they'll take on Missouri. If they win those next two games, they'll start making a lot more noise. And then Mark and I will be doing the Sun Belt Championship next Monday in Pensacola, which is always a lot of fun because that's one of those one bid leagues. You win it and you're dancing, you lose and your season, and for many of those young men, their career is over. So I always love doing Champ Week. That's one of my favorite events of the year.
I wanted to get real quick. You're in the Atlanta area. I don't know what pick they have in the draft coming up real quick.
8.
What are they talking about there? What do you think they're going to do?
Oh, it's crazy, Shane. So I made this point during the year. It was not a popular one because I do some work on the afternoon show. All the talk was, we got to win the NFL's worst division, the NFC South. I was like, you know what? What is that going to do? So you can get waxed in the first round of the playoffs and be stuck in the middle of the first round and not get your quarterback. They don't have a quarterback. And if Desmond Ridder is not an NFL starter.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a quarterback, you're not going anywhere. So rather than just lose, I'm not saying they should have tanked, but if they would have lost a couple more games, they could have been in reach for a Drake May, a Caleb Williams, a Jaden Daniels. Instead, they're in the abyss because all three of those guys will be off the board, and it's too high to take a Bo Nix or a J.J. McCarthy. So the word is that they'll go after a rush end like a Dallas Turner of Alabama, and that's a great pick. Like that's you could get him, and it certainly improves your football team. But you're still not going anywhere without a quarterback. So then the other rumors are you trade for Justin Fields, so I'm not a big believer in. He's a Georgia product, started with Georgia and then went to Ohio State. He's been erratic at Chicago at best. Or you could really go all in, pull a Panthers-type deal, give up 2 1s, 2 2s, trade from 8 to 1, and try to get like a Caleb Williams, somebody like that. I don't think they're capable of pulling that off. My guess is they're stuck with 8. They take a non-quarterback, and they remain in the abyss as a team that's got a lot of fancy weapons, Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, but they still don't have a quarterback, so you're not going that far.
Yeah. Well, we shall see. It's end of this month. Mike, good stuff as always, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
You got it, Shane. Appreciate it.
It's Mike Morgan. Join us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Duffy Home Improvements, and brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Live a healthier lifestyle with our bold, flavorful smoothies and our amazing food. Tropical smoothie. When you eat better, you feel better. Hope everybody is better out there. Positivity, folks. Positivity. That's all I got to say. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.